Once I'm done. Okay, good.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 주앤합킨스의 팀장이라고 합니다. 먼저 시간을 내서 저희 웨비나에 참석해 주셔서 진심으로 감사드립니다. 값지고 교육적인 시간이 될 수 있도록 최선을 다하겠습니다. 오늘 웨비나는 약 1시간 소요 예정입니다. 중간에 있으신 분은 6030-8740으로 전화를 주시거나 화면 오른쪽 하단에 보이는 네모난 상자에 작성해서 보내주시면 끝에 Q&A 시간에 답변해 드리도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 저희 주앤합킨스는 여러분에게 국제중재 비용을 어떻게 줄일 것인가에 대한 해답을 공유하고자 합니다. 오늘의 첫 번째 토픽, 개정된 ICC 규제에 따라 중재 비용을 절감하는 방법은 미국의 Akerman Senterfitt의 파트너이자 주주이신 루이스 오나튼 변호사님께서 말씀해 주실 겁니다. 두 번째 토픽, 이디스커버리를 통한 법률 비용 절감 방법은 주앤합킨스의 이사이신 브라이언 홉킨스 이사님께서 말씀해 주실 거고요. 세 번째 토픽, AAA 법상 중재 비용을 효과적으로 절감하는 방법에 대해서는 주앤합킨스의 고문이신 스티브 김 변호사님께서 말씀해 주실 겁니다. 다시 한번 귀한 시간을 내주시면 감사드립니다. 뜻으로 웨비나를 마친 후에 핸드폰으로 스타벅스 커피권을 보내드리오니 끝까지 함께 해주시면 감사하겠습니다. 시작하기 앞서 저희 회사에 대한 아주 간단한 소개를 하겠습니다. 저희 회사 설립 배경은 대표이자 창업자이신 주현철 변호사님과 삼성전자 미국 법인의 전 상무를 역임했던 브라이언 홉킨스 변호사님이 만나면서 시작되었는데, 두 분은 변호사로서 일하면서 보람을 느꼈던 적이 많았지만 또 힘든 적도 있었습니다. 예를 들면 번역하는 것, 문서 검토하는 것, 또 수사에 필요한 컴퓨터 소프트웨어를 새로 배우는 것 등등. 그래서 주앤합킨스는 변호사들이 불필요한 업무에 시간을 낭비하지 않고 비용을 줄이면서 진짜 변호사다운 일을 할 수 있도록 지원하기 위해 탄생했습니다. 저희가 어떤 서비스를 제공하는지는 오늘의 메인 토픽을 먼저 들어보시고 간단히 설명해드리겠습니다. 그럼 제일 먼저 오늘 루이스 오나튼 변호사님을 모시겠습니다. 루이스 오나튼 변호사님은 세계 최고 중재팀을 가진 Akerman Senterfitt이라는 미국 로펌의 주주이자 파트너이십니다. 각 법률 순위 기관의 리서치에 따르면 세계 중재 순위 탑 퍼스트 티어로서 세계 최고 중재팀을 보유하고 계십니다. Please go ahead, Louis.
Well, thank you very much, Han. And I first want to thank my good friends at Ju앤합킨스 for inviting me to participate in this webinar, and I hope you all find it interesting. I say good morning to everyone on the webinar, although it is evening here. Han, are you going to transfer control of the PowerPoint to me?
Just one moment.
Want to move slides?
There you go.
Oh, okay. There. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Louis.
And again, I want to say good morning to everyone. And as has already been discussed or mentioned to you, I am going to be discussing the ability to control costs under the new ICC rules. And here in this next slide, you see the new format, excuse me, for the rules. These new rules are going to take effect on January 1, 2012, and they are changing the rules that were in existence since 1998. So there's 14 years since the previous rules were in existence. My presentation today is going to be divided into the following sections. First, I'm going to discuss a bit about, excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold, which is why I'm coughing. I'm going to discuss the process under which the new ICC rules came into existence. And then I'm going to discuss about certain specific sections or articles in that new ICC rules as they relate to reduce the ability to reduce time and cost in ICC arbitrations. And these sections deal with the ability to challenges to jurisdiction, new provisions as relate to case management, and certain new provisions that are intended to enforce this ability to control cost. And I'm now going to direct myself to that first section, which is the process under which the new ICC rules came into effect. As I mentioned, the old rules started in 1998 and have been extraordinarily successful. However, like they're being extraordinarily successful, after 14 years, anything can stand improvement. And in fact, if you don't go ahead and improve them, it's considered, the rules can get stale. In order to go ahead and amend the new rules, a very specific process was taken into effect. The ICC functions with the Commission on Arbitration, which is the policy-making body of the ICC, and it goes ahead and suggests what rules should be adopted. However, that commission is obviously a very large body. And what they did is they formed a task force on the revision of the rules, which consisted of over 175 people. I was one of those that formed part of the task force. This task force was created in October of 2008. It had members from over 41 countries, and it had active consultations with the various national committees throughout the world. As many of you may know, the ICC works through national committees. So whenever there's a question, they go through different national committees. I work through the United States National Committee. Even with 175 people, this is a lot of people to go ahead and draft new rules. So among these 175 people, a drafting subcommittee was created, which met every month in Paris. The drafting subcommittee composed both civil and common law practitioners. We have to remember that the ICC rules are universal in nature. They don't go ahead and have specific rules, let's say, for construction disputes or consumer disputes. The ICC rules are meant to apply to all ICC arbitrations, no matter what kind of dispute, no matter what kind of language or nationality. So it was very important that we had both civil and common law practitioners. We had members from around the world. Very important that form part of this drafting subcommittee is that the UCC had members of what they called the user community, meaning the different corporate entities that use arbitration. And of course, there were members of the Secretariat. Once these rules were drafted and approved, they had to go ahead and be adopted by the entire ICC Commission on Arbitration, which were earlier this year in March. They were finally approved by the ICC in October, and as I said, they go into effect on January 1, 2012. And if you go to the ICC website, you can see the new rules. Now, what were the principles, guiding principles, when drafting the new rules? Because the first thing was, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. So only those changes that were considered absolutely necessary were going to be made. If a phrase worked, but there was, say, a more elegant or shorter way of saying it, well, it wasn't going to be changed because it worked. Only if it didn't work was it going to be changed. However, one of the primary goals of the making of the new rules was reducing time and costs in arbitration proceedings. Many of you might recognize that the ICC rules a few years ago issued a little pamphlet called Guide for Controlling Time and Costs. And if you look at that pamphlet, it spoke about how the majority of the arbitration costs, 82%, are comprised of counsel and expert witness fees. Now, as we all know, arbitration costs have skyrocketed over the past decade or decade and a half. And the user community is complaining very loudly. And the ICC, just like any other entity, is going to be responsive to its customers' needs. In order to make sure that we were addressing what the users of arbitration were demanding, the ICC included members of that, of the users, on the drafting subcommittee. Not just the general committee, but the drafting subcommittee. And I put up here on this slide the two members that formed part of it. One was an American, John Sanders, who was an associate general counsel of Merck & Company, the pharmaceutical. Also was Ankit Sessler, the chief counsel for litigation for Siemens. So these people would meet for a couple of days every month in Paris to discuss the changes to the new rules. And what were they looking at? There were two important issues facing arbitration as it related to time and costs. One was that arbitration had become too standardized. And when it becomes too standardized, it loses its flexibility to adapt to specific disputes. Further, a lot of the arbitrators, and you see this a lot with very experienced arbitrators, you have in Europe what they even call arbitration mills, and they have lots and lots of arbitrations. Well, many of these arbitrators wouldn't even pay attention to the case until immediately prior to the final hearing. So they weren't paying attention to the case. And that was considered a way where clients and, well, really the lawyers were running these arbitrations. The arbitrators weren't putting any rules. And again, this is a way where costs were being increased. And let's go ahead now and look at the methods introduced into the new ICC rules where parties and lawyers can try and control the costs. And the new rules address the delays in various formats. One, you have to deal